Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Talk Show. This podcast is dedicated to a growth mindset. You see, I believe that you know something that I don't know, and I also believe that I know something that you don't know. And the only way for each of us to both rise in our knowings is for us to sit in a room and share all the things. For those of you that are new to the show and love inspirational content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in.
We come to you every day with the best speakers, relationship coaches, spiritual mentors, trailblazers, business owners, authors, young hustlers, podcasters, entrepreneurs, fitness trainers, therapists, financial advisors, and more. We ask our guests one question. What do you know that I don't know? Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
And thank you for joining us today for this episode of Her Talk Show. We have had over 500 women grace this stage, and we are adding another one to the list today. If you're watching us live, welcome. And if you're watching us on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love. Either way, if you are watching this video, we would love it if you were to share it wherever you're at so we can get more eyes and more ears on this awesome content that we are going to be sharing today. So here we inspire. We have you thinking outside the box in no time. Today I'm speaking with an amazing woman named Kelly B. Hunter. Kelly is a mother, a grandmother, cancer conqueror, widow, and now the CEO of a thriving boutique financial services firm. As a financial freedom strategist, speaker, and educator, Kelly works predominantly with single parent professionals and mompreneurs to help them design a non-judgmental, holistic 5-step game plan to their finances from flawed to freedom. Yes.
Hi.
Hello. I love this, Kelly. How did you get into this?
Wow. How did I get into this? That's an amazing question. Not your typical path. January 24th of 2016, I lost my husband. I became a widow. And I had been a stay-at-home mom for many years prior to his very sudden passing. And immediately, my husband died on a Sunday afternoon. And by that Tuesday, I was in therapy because I knew immediately. And so I went through grief counseling for 2 years and becoming a part of a club that nobody wants to belong to as a widow, right? I encountered all of these amazing women. The one thing, though, that I found was that as devastating as losing my husband was for me, my children, my family, we were okay financially. We didn't have a lot of debt. We didn't have credit card debt. We owned a home. We had 2 vehicles. But I didn't have a lot of the financial circumstances that other women in the same situation as myself had. So we had life insurance. My husband had a pension. I understood after the dust clears, right? Because in the immediacy of losing him, you're not thinking straight about anything. You're just in the middle of grieving and trying to figure it out. But what I found was that ultimately we were going to be okay. That was not the situation or circumstances for most of the other women that I was talking to, that I was in therapy with, that I encountered. And so they didn't have any credit. They didn't have any life insurance. They thought maybe there was a policy, but it was one that was provided through their husband's employer, right? So if you don't own the policy, you don't technically have any insurance. Wow. The credit card debt was just completely overwhelming. And for moms who had been at home for as long as I had been at home, how do you now get back out into the workforce? You've been home raising children, taking care of a home, a husband, and all, doing all of the things. Where do you go? I started my firm in 2018, and the very first thing that I did was got certified board and FCRA certified as a credit specialist. That, like it or not, is the foundation of our financial lives. Personal credit. Try doing anything without it, and you'll find out immediately just how important it is. So that's where we started. I went on to get certified as a business credit professional, and then life insurance licensed in multi-states at this point. I think it's 12 or 13. And I've created a strategic partnership with an attorney to take care of trusts, estate planning, and things of that nature. So when I say that we are a full service financial services firm, we absolutely are.
That is fantastic. And what a story.
Yeah. Not your typical story. I'm grateful for all of the things that my husband taught me, as well as being able to stay home for as long as I did, right? And my children and I still laugh because they used to call him Mr. Dollar General. And I remember when my son was younger, gaming was Joshua's thing. And he would say, "Can you pick up a game for me?" And, my husband would say, "Sure, if it's on sale at Dollar General, I'll get it for you." But that was the way he approached finances.
Yeah.
It was very, very important. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. I think one of the things I love about that story is your observation of the people around you. Like, it could have been so easy for you to be like engulfed in your own story, which yes, and also just recognizing the challenges that other people were going through. I mean, what great insight.
Well, yeah, because if I'm going through it, if I'm experiencing it, whether it looks the same for me or not, there are still similarities in the situation, the story, the circumstances, how our children are affected, how we personally are affected as wives, how you identify, like all of these things. And because I was in a group counseling situation or group therapy situation, it was very easy to see, as difficult as it was for me, there were certain financial aspects of this process that I wasn't going to have to deal with, that other women were. So now, how do I fix that? How do I, because my husband had bought a business for me. He was going to retire. I was going to go back to work. My son was going into his freshman year of college. So life was established. We knew what exactly was happening until it wasn't. So now what? What do you do now? My daughter was married. She was having her first child, my first grandson. My son was going off to college. And here I am in this 4-bedroom house trying to figure life out. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
I got to do something, because what I'm looking at, what I'm hearing, what I'm feeling from other women, this doesn't work. So how do I change that? How can I change that? And because my circumstances were so different, but yet the same, I could communicate and understand and empathize and express and do all of the things and be heard, right? As opposed to the life insurance agent who maybe sold you a policy that now is meaningless to you, or a financial planner, right? Who's also a male, who's not quite getting it. The connection is not being made. So that for me, then and even now, has been a huge benefit in terms of being able to understand and communicate with my clients, as a mom, as a grandmother, as a wife, as a widow, as someone who's had major health challenges, all of those things. So it's been awesome for me. And I think my clients as well, if you had an opportunity to talk to some of them. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Celeste here says financial freedom during the grieving process takes so much weight off the family. What a blessing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She's absolutely right. It's one less concern, right? Amongst all of the other things that you have to deal with. And there's so much. So pre-planning is a thing, right? Planning your final wishes.
Yeah,
What
and
does
so
that look
many
like?
people don't want to take the time to do that. It's always, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, well, tomorrow is not promised. And this is the one thing that I can say. Once it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
If you could just have the difficult conversation, sit down and get through the process that one time,
Yeah.
just one time, right? Maybe an hour, maybe two, maybe three.
Yeah.
And then you can put it all to the side knowing that it's taken care of, and it's something that your children don't have to deal with or your grandchildren don't have to deal with, because I had to go through this process multiple times in within a year. So my grandfather passed away February of 2015. My father passed away July of 2015, and then my husband died January of 2016. So within 11 months, I had lost all of the patriarchs that had raised me.
Wow.
And yeah, so it was quite a bit. My mother and I were widowed in the same year, if you can imagine that.
Wow.
So where I immediately went into therapy, she did not. And ultimately my mother passed of grief. And so the financial fallout from her inability um, to deal with the grief, and after my father's passing, she didn't take his name off of any of the utilities. She, like, none of that stuff was done.
Wow.
And I didn't know any of that, even though we had these conversations and I would talk to my mom and ask questions. She was not willing to share this information with me. um, and so there were certain things that I found out after my mom passed, and it was like, but this is what I do for a living. How could you not tell me?
Yeah.
How could you not share this with me? And so to a degree, I'm still dealing with some of that as well. So um, as much as I understand that these conversations are very hard to have, once they're had, we really don't need to do it again unless something changes.
Yeah. Something drastic changes.
Exactly. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I sat down when my son was probably like 5, and he's 19 now. And yeah, I just, being a single mom, it's super heavy, like you don't want to leave your child just flailing in the wind. So
Trying to figure stuff out. And it's a
yeah.
lot. It's a lot to try to figure out.
Yeah. So having a conversation, and even that, like I was in my not even 30 yet, I think, when I sat down to do mine. And having the conversation with my parents, just in case, having a conversation with his father, just in case, because you never know. I mean, people, things happen. Things
All the
happen. You
time.
don't want to think that things happen, but they do. So
Yeah,
I want to touch a little bit, Kelly, on this flawed to freedom concept
sure.
that reigns on your branding and whatnot. What does this mean? Flawed to freedom. Tell us.
So FLAWED stands for financial literacy, abundance, wealth, education, and decisions. All of the things that we need to have, learn, possess, do, be in order to make sure that we can be financially free. And walking into the process, our finances are flawed. Sometimes our mindset is flawed. Um, our relationship with our wealth, and our ability to receive, right, and live in abundance is flawed. So we want to go from a certain place, which is that flawed place, to freedom. And what it's going to take is financial literacy, understanding our finances, right? A mindset of abundance. And how do we not just acquire wealth, but how do we hold on to it, right? And we do that through education, and we do that through decisions. So,
Wow, that is awesome. And what a pretty like acronym.
yeah,
And then it works so nice.
yeah.
That is awesome. When you say ability to receive, having a flawed ability to receive, what does that mean?
So, and I'll speak for me, right?
Of course.
As a mother, wife, grandmother, we give constantly to those that we love and we care about, and we do it expecting nothing in return. But it's so hard for us sometimes to just sit and receive, just and be okay with that. And it's okay for us to receive, for our children to give to us, and for those that love us and care about us to just love on us in the way that we have pretty much all of their lives. So my children now are 34 and 25. They are both parents themselves. And little things. My daughter, I drink a particular kind of coffee. I only drink Bustelo. That's what I grew up on. I grew up in New York. Bustelo coffee is it. I'm not a Folgers girl. Don't give me none of that other stuff. Okay. Bustelo, black and sweet. That's what it is. And so today, yesterday, actually, she said, Mom, I picked up coffee for you. Thank you. They're just something so simple that she knows, because I wake up every day and that's the first thing. I have to have my coffee. Don't talk to me without it. And it was on sale and she got it for me. So just little things like that.
Nice.
We need to get used to being okay with receiving from our children and our grandchildren, and just the people around us that love and care for us in the way that we have done for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the way that you said thank you there. Like, what a great lead to show that you don't need any of the extras or it's just thank you. And that's exactly what you're saying as far as having the ability to just receive.
Yes.
Period.
Yep. Period on the end. Absolutely.
Wow. That's powerful.
Thank you.
And I think you're right, especially in female culture. There is this, we have a hard time receiving.
Major.
Yeah.
We need to cut that out. Yeah, we need to cut that out.
It's a good testament right there. I would love to hear your 4 steps. You have a 4 steps every woman needs to take to love.
Well, not to love, but to love their finances.
To love their finances.
Yeah, to love their finances.
Can you share?
Absolutely. So the very first step is mindset. We got to work on that, right? Yeah. And I'll give you an example. I had a consultation with a woman. She was either 65 or 66, and she came to me as a credit repair consultation. And I'm like, well, I'm not sure where this is going to go, but let's talk. So we had a conversation, and she told me she was on a fixed income. She was retired, but her credit was, I don't say bad, I say challenged. She had quite a few credit challenges to deal with. And it wasn't through any fault of her own. She had co-signed for a vehicle for her grandson. And then she had co-signed for 2 apartments for other family members. And nobody was paying the bills. And because she had co-signed, now her credit is shot, and she's coming into, her retirement. And this is something that she should not be dealing with. And it's not through anything other than her wanting to be kind to the people that she loved, right? and help them when they needed help. And so in good conscience, I couldn't take her on as a client. You're on a fixed income. She really couldn't afford to pay me. But I said to her, I'm going to make myself available to you and walk you through the process of getting this together, because, going into 65, 66, 67, this is really not where you want to be financially. And it was troubling to her, her mind, her heart, her spirit, that this is where she found herself at this point in her life. So mindset is the first thing. Then we definitely want to make sure that we're working on our personal credit, right? We're not taught these concepts in school. We usually have to make a whole bunch of mistakes before we figure out, we're like destroying it and then trying to rebuild it. So one of the things that I have, which is so important, right, is a credit program for children. So we need to start having these conversations early, because they're not talking about them in school.
When you say children, how old are these children? Like 12 or?
Oh, no. I started with my grandson when he was 4.
Wow.
So one of the things that we talk about all the time is no swiping, right? So just swiping that debit card. You can't keep track of what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So he's reminding his parents, are you swiping? Don't swipe. You can't swipe. Do you have a money map? And I don't teach budgeting either as a concept. I teach money mapping. Let me go through the 4, and then I'll explain why. So mindset, of course, right? Because you have to be able to make the decisions and the hard choices and have the difficult conversations. Then we're going to talk about the personal credit, right? That's the foundation of our financial lives. If you happen to be a business owner, then we're going to add in an additional step for business credit, because the one thing that we do as women that we need to stop doing is self-funding our businesses. Yes, we can do it. We have been doing it. We've been successful doing it. Is it the best way to grow? No. Is it the quickest way to grow? No. So what we want to make sure that we're doing is positioning ourselves on paper. Some people call it for, fundability, whatever terminology you want to use is fine. But the point is that on paper, from a lender or creditor perspective, we want to make sure that we have positioned ourselves so that we can have access to other people's money, aka the bank, OPM, right? So if we're an entrepreneur, that's what we want to focus on. We definitely want to protect our life, our health, and our wealth. The best way to do that is through life insurance. There's a whole host of products that are available to do that, depending on your situation, your circumstances, and your resources, right? We make sure that we protect what you have, period. And then we protect the legacy of what you've built by putting an estate plan in place. So those are the 4 steps. 5 if you're an entrepreneur.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So what's the mind map or the money map?
Okay. So one of the things that I always want to know is, do you have, and for lack of a better word, a budget in place, right? Because particularly if you're going to embark on a credit restoration journey, we need to make sure that you're paying your bills on time. Because if you can't do that, then trying to fix your credit while you're still paying bills late is pointless. One is canceling out the other. What I have come to learn is that budgeting as a concept just doesn't work. And people will say to me all the time, I can't stick to this budget. I don't know why. Well, you can't stick to the budget because the budget is static. So you write these, items down, and then you write down dollar amounts, and maybe you write down payment dates, right? But life is happening all the time. And so at the beginning of the month, you've set this budget in place, but now you need to replace the tires, or something happens with the child at school, or there's a last minute situation, anything. And automatically the budget is just blown, right? So now emotionally, we're trying to figure out, where did I go wrong? You didn't go wrong. Life is lifing every day. So as opposed to budgeting, I teach something called money mapping. So if we think about getting ourselves from point A to point B, sometimes, do you remember MapQuest back in the day before we had like all these devices?
Yeah.
Okay. So you would print the MapQuest directions, right? And let's say you ran out of ink and at the bottom of the page, one or two of those steps was missing. You would still get to the destination, but you might have to stop. In New York, we used to stop at the bodega and ask directions, right? I'm trying to get to XYZ place. How do I get there? You still get there, but sometimes you got to make a detour. Sometimes the road that you're traveling on is closed. Anything can go wrong, but you still get there. So we think about it as giving our dollars a direction and our money a mission. It's not static, it's fluid. Money is fluid. The day is, yeah. So I teach that as opposed to budgeting.
Wow. I love that. What a great visual.
I try to make these things easy and relatable and realistic, because money is one of those very intimate, very difficult things to talk about. I did a survey last year, and the question was, would you rather share your credit score or your body count? Hands down, body count.
What?
Hands down. Yeah. Because so many of us have terrible credit for a whole host of reasons, right? If you go through a divorce, your credit is shot. Sometimes just after having a child, if you haven't had the opportunity to plan, sometimes your credit, because you're just going about the business of doing. And if you don't have that foundation set to begin with, every move that you make, it just layers. And so you find yourself in a set of, circumstances that it's hard to dig out from. So I try to teach concepts that are easy to understand, absolutely no judgment, because what's the point? We're just trying to fix it. We just want to get from point A to point B and be financially healthy, well, and better educated, so that we don't keep making the same mistakes, because we don't have to.
Yeah. I remember there was a point in my younger 19 when I demolished my credit, and took me a while to get it back. When I was in my 30s, I had it up to just under 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I had paid off my car. I had only one credit card. I had like closed another one, just not knowing, right? Just what you don't know, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed one credit card payment
Payment.
by like 20 days or something. And my credit score went from like 762 to under 5 to like 500.
Yeah.
Because I had nothing else.
Right.
See, I didn't know that.
Most of us don't.
I paid off my car like 2 years prior. I had closed my credit card, like my other credit card, like a year ago. So I only had one piece of credit. And I thought I was living large. I'm like, I got nothing. I'm all good. Everything's great. And then boom.
Yep.
I had no idea.
And because you just
good to have someone like you
right
in your life to educate you on stuff like this.
Yeah.
Because you think you're doing good, and then something just sideswipes you like crazy. And at that point in my life, I was leaving an abusive relationship, and which is why I was so set on like getting everything done and everything paid for and everything, all my life, blah. And my credit was really important because I was looking for apartments.
Exactly.
And I screwed myself.
Mm-hmm.
It elongated everything because of that,
So had we known each other then, I would have contacted the credit card company particularly if you hadn't had any late payments, right, prior to that, and just written them a good faith letter. Could you not report this late? Could you delete the late payment, right? Now, if they had come back and said no, then I would have had you open maybe 1 or 2 additional accounts. And instead of it taking 6 months or 9 months, it would have taken 3 months for you to rebuild based on those other 2 accounts. You would take initially a bit of a hit, but over the next 90 days, your credit score would have increased, right? So there's always a way to deal with, and that's the other thing I think sometimes people have difficulty with. It's like, well, it's just so horrible. There's no, Celeste, it's just so horrible. There's no way for me to recover. There's always a way to recover. Always. Yeah.
Very cool. So I want to ask, we have people watching live right now. I'm sure there's going to be even more people watching on the replay. Who should be contacting you? Who do you help? You know, they're obviously resonating with what you're saying. They're hanging out. They're listening. You know, who should be dropping in your DMs? Who should be checking out your website? Who do you help?
Anyone who is not currently at a 720 or better. If your credit score is not at that point, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, right? I don't know. Do you have a child who's in their freshman year of high school, getting ready to go to college? They may need you to co-sign for some student loans. Are you financially in a position to do that? A single mom, right? If you've got a toddler, now is an amazing time for you to get your finances in order and start planning, right? So we work on the personal credit. Do you want to build a business? I don't know. We could have that conversation. Do you have life insurance? Is your child insured? We want to have those conversations. As a single mom, let me make this abundantly clear. If you don't have an estate plan, if you don't have a power of attorney, financial power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, if you don't have any of that, but you're a single mom, at the absolute very least, you want to have guardianship in place for your children. If you have nothing else, please, let's do that. Because as you said, you were leaving an abusive relationship, right? God forbid something happened to you. The courts are 9 times out of 10 going to give your baby to that other biological parent. If that is not what you want, you better make your wishes known right now.
Yeah.
Because these family court judges,
yeah, they don't have time to sit here and go through all the stuff and all the details and all that. They're just
nope. Mom's passed, grandparents are not available, or they're too elderly, or financially can't handle the responsibility. Guess what? He's getting your baby. Is that what you want? No, it's not what you want. You have to put guardianship in place.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Right.
Yeah, my child got kidnapped at the age of 11 by his father. His father asked to take him on a camping trip, never gave him back. I had to go to emergency court hearing. I didn't know where he was living. The whole thing was just a complete and utter disaster. It was 1 year, $18,000.
Oh my goodness.
To go through all the proceedings. Yeah. Because I had nothing in place. Nice. Because he just disappeared. He just like left. He just disappeared. So I was like, I'm good. Everything's fine. I don't have to worry about it. And then he popped back up being dad of the year.
Not. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And boom, just messed everything up. My money, everything. You know, I was saving. It was this whole thing. Wiped me out completely at both ends. It was horrible. All because I didn't know. And even the police, we went to the house. I'm like trying to get him back. And they're like, we can't do anything. There's no papers that say, they're like, we don't know if you're crazy or if he's crazy.
He's crazy.
We don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's that. If you're an entrepreneur, then we definitely want to make sure that we're building business credit for you, which is also based on your personal credit. So we can do one, then we can do the other, or we can do them simultaneously. It's up to you. If you don't have any life insurance, we got to put something in place. I don't care if it's a 15-year term policy, something, until you can afford more. But if you're employed and you think you have life insurance at work, you don't. If you don't own the policy outright, don't depend on the policy. Don't depend on the coverage. And don't leave your loved ones thinking, yeah, I've got, 2 times my annual salary in life insurance. Because if you really read the fine print on that policy, there's going to be some caveats that let you know only under certain circumstances does that policy pay out. Only under certain circumstances does the policy pay out, and you just don't want to leave that kind of thing to chance. You just don't.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic. So people should contact you at winningcreditsolutions.com.
Yes.
Okay. And then where do you hang out at on social media the most? Where should people follow you to kind of get more info?
Facebook and Instagram.
Under Kelly B. Hunter?
Under Win Credit LLC on Facebook, and Winning Credit LLC on Instagram.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, this has been so awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all of the real strategies that you gave us. That doesn't always happen, where people have a step-by-step. So this was so wonderful, and something that somebody listening can get a good grasp on some of the steps that they can start taking immediately. And then, if they decide that they need some help, if they decide they need to reach out, then they have you to be able to contact. This was phenomenal.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. Any closing thoughts as we wrap up?
So I just wanted to say that I think, having lived through all that I have and experienced all that I have, so I've been, a single mom, a working mom, divorced mom, widowed mom, now grandmother of 3. There isn't a whole lot that I can't speak to or relate to or understand or empathize with, right? I'm a woman of a certain age. Most people don't see that, but I am. My oldest is 34 years old, and I wasn't a teen mom. So there you go.
Wow. Yeah.
So I'm here. If you need me, I'm here.
Thank you for that, Kelly. We so appreciate you. And thank you for giving your time to us and the Her Nation, and really giving your all with some of these pointers that you gave us. This is exactly what so many women out there need. For those of you listening live or on the replay, if you resonated with Kelly Hunter and all of the awesomeness that she shared today, make sure you reach out to her at her website, winningcreditsolutions.com. There is a clickable link in the description wherever you're watching us at. She hangs out on Facebook and Insta the most. We'd love to connect people here on this platform in order to make sure that we all continue to rise. Thank you so much, Kelly, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you to the audience listening. This community is expanding every single day and is filled with females who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. For those of you that are new to this podcast and love content like this, make sure you subscribe and follow. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I'm so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others.